The Radio Memories Network is brought to you in part by Liberated Syndication. Podcast publishing made easy. Libsyn.com. That's Libsyn.com.
Worried about income tax? Wonder if spring will ever come? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape.
You were alone in your book-lined study, listening to the idiot gibberings of a parrot, and beside you, caressing you, is an invisible thing, a loathsome thing, from which you must escape.
Escape. Produced by William N. Robeson and carefully contrived to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Today, we escape to the West End of London, to a little house just off Hyde Park, where lived a man who didn't like people. Today, we escape in the remarkable tale of Robert Hitchens, how love came to Professor Guildea.
It has been said that no night ever passes over London town that sees not some strange and curious event, some occurrence too incredible to bear repeating in the light of day. How horribly true are those words. It's been over a year now since the night I first met the amazing Professor Guildea. I had delivered a sermon at the rectory of St. Swithin in the East End, and was passing through the foyer in departure when I was accosted brusquely by an odd little man, remarkably sharp-featured, his face adorned by a pointed black goatee.
Hold me a moment, please. I believe you're Father Murchison?
Yes, that's right, but I don't think I've had the pleasure of...
Perhaps you've heard of me. My name's Guildea, Professor Guildea.
Guildea, why, yes, you're the famous psychologist.
Yes, psychologist, biologist, anthropologist, philosopher, and that takes care of that. Sir, I never attend religious services.
It appears you've done so tonight.
I came for one reason, to hear you. Find out why an otherwise normal colleague of mine thinks you're the most convincing speaker he's ever listened to.
And did you find out?
No, your talk was intelligent, logical. Therefore, it could never convince anybody of anything.
Thank you. You're a direct man, Professor Guildea.
No time to be anything else. Like to have you dine with me, Father Murchison, say a week from tonight, 7 o'clock. I live at number 100 Hyde Park in the West End.
Can't we make it 2 weeks? I'm preaching at St. Saviour's that night, just round the corner from the park. And I'm afraid it'll have to be nearer 8:30 than 7. The service isn't over so early.
We can't even agree on a time for dinner. Very well, 8:30, 2 weeks. Good night, sir.
Perhaps if I had known then what I haven't, no matter. I kept the appointment, of course. After an excellent dinner, we climbed the stairs to Guildea's study. A large book-lined room running the width of the house, with windows at the end overlooking the park. In front of those windows stood the one incongruous thing in the room. A cage holding a large gray parrot. In fact, as I recall, it was the parrot that was responsible for my first becoming aware of what exact opposites Guildea and I really were. The same parrot that was responsible for so many other things that happened later.
Quiet, Napoleon. One day that infernal squawking of yours will drive me to wring your neck.
Somehow it surprises me, Guildea. I mean, you're keeping a pet.
I possess a parrot, Father Murchison, that's all. Made a study of the imitative faculties of animals some months ago. Bought the bird then, never got rid of it.
I see.
Started the bad habit of scratching the fool thing's head. It loves it, you see. In 5 minutes, he'll be screaming for more of it. Why would it surprise you so much if I kept a pet?
Because I believe you're the most self-sufficient man I ever met.
More than that, actually. I detest affection, any display of sentimentality.
But you do feel the need of close human sympathy in your life.
None whatsoever. A reasonable amount of companionship, naturally, but that's all. Father Murchison, I'm one person who does not love his fellow men.
Nonetheless, some of your discoveries have been of great benefit to mankind.
Entirely accidental.
I thought you would be liking your coffee now,
Oh,
sir.
yes, Pitting. Put it down on the table, please.
Thank you, sir. Will there be anything else?
No, that's all, Pitting.
Yes, sir.
An excellent servant there. I know nothing of Pitting's thoughts or feelings, nor he of mine. Perfect relationship.
And if a crisis occurred, if you needed to call on him as a friend.
It would take a considerable crisis.
What about the parrot? Surely you must regard it with some affection, otherwise you'd get rid of it.
Napoleon, merely a specimen. Bird's as devoid of sentimentality as I am. He can only imitate whatever he sees and hears.
Guildea, have you ever been in love?
Neither with anyone in particular, nor with love itself. Being in love, as you put it, or having someone in love with me, would be the most monstrous and horrible situation I could possibly imagine.
All of a sudden, I feel a very great sense of pity.
For whom?
For you. Yet, as different as we were, my life dedicated to all humanity, and Guildea's life stripped of its own humanity, I called again at the house at Hyde Park many times, and we became friends. We talked away many evening hours in the months that followed, sitting by the book-covered table in the long study, the grey parrot chattering away in the background, with the lamplight barely reaching the farther corners. It was on such a night not long ago that the thing began. Guildea had seemed uncommonly nervous since dinner, and had spent much of the time pacing in front of the windows that faced the park.
Found it, Murchison. I can't seem to relax tonight. I ever feel a completely unaccountable presentiment. A sense that something remarkable was about to happen.
Oh, yes. Usually it never did. Turned out to be the effect of too much coffee.
Oh, it's not that. Coffee doesn't bother me. Nothing does.
Well, then suppose you stop pacing the floor and sit down. You're wearing me out.
You noticed how well Napoleon's learned to imitate your voice?
Yes, I have, and it's almost insulting at times.
The worst thing is feeling such a strong compulsion to do something which I know to be ridiculous.
Exactly what is it you're talking about, Guildea?
Well, it's foolish even to mention it, but I wonder if you'd pardon me for a few minutes.
Of course.
Help yourself to more coffee. I'll be right back.
I walked over and stood stroking the feathers of the parrot through the bars of his cage. I'd grown rather fond of the ugly bird, but it always startled me to hear him mimic some phrase of mine or Guildea's. Napoleon, you're a true creature of the devil.
Creature devil, creature devil.
I happened to glance out of the window toward the park across the street. The arc lamp at the corner threw a dim gleam across a bench set just inside the paling. And I was surprised to see Professor Guildea moving about the bench, peering under it, behind it, staring into the shadows nearby. He kept this up for some minutes, then crossed the street and came back toward the house. In a moment, I heard him ascending the stairs.
Father Murchison, has anyone entered this room since I went out?
I know, you mean Pitting, of course. He hasn't been in.
Strange. Very strange.
I saw you across the street in the park. What were you doing?
I thought I saw something, wondered what it was, that's all.
Did you find out?
No. What's wrong with the parrot? Never made a sound like that before.
What do you mean? He seems all right.
Napoleon, stop that.
What was it you thought you saw?
Nothing. As you said, most likely it was the coffee. Only I'm very much afraid that... Oh, no. In this day and age, it's impossible.
It was nearly a week later that I received a phone call in my quarters at the rectory. Father Murchison here.
This is Pitting, sir. Professor Guildea's man.
Oh, yes, Pitting. How are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. The master would greatly
A
appreciate
fiery
your
horse
calling
with
at
the
house
speed
to
of
see
light, a
if
cloud
you
of
would be
dust, and a hearty
Oh,
high
anything wrong?
silver.
I
The
could not say,
Lone
sir.
Ranger.
But why didn't he phone himself? He isn't ill.
I think not. He suggested 8 o'clock, sir. May I tell him you'll come?
Yes. Yes, by all means. Tell him I'll be there at 8.
This is the legend of a man and a horse and how they met. The story of the Lone Ranger and his great horse, Silver.
No use beating about the bush, Father Murchison. I am nervous. Of course I am. Plenty of reasons for it.
Oh, you're working
The
too
Lone
hard.
Ranger
Now I'm
and
working
Tonto
too hard.
were
The other
the
night it was
worst
coffee.
outlaw
As a
in
matter
the
of fact,
West.
it's neither one.
His name was
Be
Quick
quiet,
Cabin.
Napoleon.
They had followed
Maybe
his
you'd
trail for
better
many
tell me
weeks,
just what is
until
the matter,
finally
Guildea.
they noticed that the hoof prints of
Do
the
you
outlaw's
feel the
horse were
presence in
fresh.
this room of anyone besides the two of us?
Well, there's Napoleon, of course.
No, I don't mean the
Him
parrot.
outrun us last time.
He senses it too,
Maybe
though.
better we shoot
Senses
in
what?
sight.
When you were here last week, I left the house with you, if you remember. I've been watching someone sitting on that bench across in the park, a shadowy sort of figure.
Otto, he missed
I
me,
had
but he
to
shot
find
my
out
horse.
what
Get
it was.
after him.
You found nothing. You told me when you came back.
That's right.
Tonto's horse was
I left
tired
the
and no
door
match in
open.
speed for the animal
When I came
Cavendish
back
rode.
in, I
The outlaw escaped.
felt suddenly that someone or
Tonto
something had
returned
entered
from
ahead
the
of me.
chase.
Oh, now, really, Guildea.
I
found
knew
the Lone
also that
Ranger
they'd
standing
found their way to
beside
this
his
room.
dead horse.
But I was
A good
here
horse,
all the
Tonto.
time. No one came
Loyal,
in.
Father
faithful,
Murchison.
and brave.
Whoever or
But my
whatever
next
came into
horse
the
must
house
be
that night
faster.
came into this
I
room is
wish
still
that-
here right now.
You, Guildea,
We've heard
a
stories
scientist.
of a wild
Yes.
horse, a fiery white
Ridiculous, isn't it?
stallion.
Ah,
It's true.
him seen near valley
I'm
over
only
there,
able to feel
where
his
Cavendish
presence.
goes.
Napoleon
Be on the
can see it. Look
lookout
at
for
him
the
now.
wild horse while we follow
Now, would you say
Cavendish.
he was watching something over there in the far corner of the room?
Why, I'd say he's just being as foolish as a parrot usually is.
You, a skeptic?
About this, yes.
Tonto's
You've been
horse
working
carried
too
the
hard.
Lone
You need a
Ranger's
vacation.
saddle, his saddlebags and
Those are the
bridle,
worst part of
while
it.
the masked man and the Indian
Would you say that
continued on foot along
I'm
the outlaw's trail.
an attractive man?
When they reached the top of a hill,
Frankly, no. Oh,
they
I
halted
suppose to a
suddenly
certain
and
type of
stared at
society
an
woman you might...
awe-inspiring
No.
sight
That's
far
not what
down
I'm
in the
talking
valley.
about.
Well, then, what are you talking about?
They
I
saw a
don't
great
know
white
whether this
stallion in a
intruder
death fight with a
is
giant
a woman,
buffalo.
man,
The
child,
horse was
animal.
plunging, rearing, charging, and dodging
Whatever it
wildly,
is, it
and the
holds
sun
a vast
flashed from his
affection
coat
for
as from a coat of polished silver.
Imagine anything
They
so
realized
utterly
that this
monstrous,
was the legendary
horrible.
white stallion, the
What
one
is the
ranchers and hunters
thing?
had talked so much about.
He's in love with me.
Must have that horse. I'll try to shoot the buffalo. I'll get close to the horse.
As he ran downhill, the Lone Ranger watched the battle. The sleek white
could
stallion
not,
was nimble
will
and
not
courageous
accept
when his
Guildea's
strength
belief.
began to wane.
And yet
The
the
buffalo charged
alternative
again
was
and
even more
again.
frightful.
The splendid muscles
For I
of
could
the
only
white horse
decide
were
that the
slower in
long hours
responding,
of study
then
and
too
lecturing
slow.
had affected
He was
his
caught
mind.
by the buffalo's
Had
charge.
brought him, in fact, to the
Went
verge of
crimson, stained
insanity.
his pure white coat. Another
I
charge.
persuaded him
The
finally
white
to
horse
get
saw
away
it
for a
coming, and he
while.
couldn't dodge.
Leave the house,
He
look at
staggered
his
and fell.
professional
The
problems,
monster
take a
drew
short
back
trip.
and lowered his head for the death
I
charge.
accompanied him to
And
Victoria
then
Station.
2 shots rang out.
Saw him off on the boat train.
The
And
buffalo
then,
shuddered
caught
from
up
the
in my
impact of the
duties, I had
masked
little
man's
time
bullets.
to
For an
consider the
instant, he
strange
stood
affair for
motionless.
nearly 10 days.
Then fell.
Father Murchison here.
I hope I haven't disturbed you.
Professor Guildea, then you're back in London.
Yes, I've been back for 3 days.
You should have called me. How was the trip?
Quite pleasant. I took passage on a Channel coaster. The
Truly
sea air was
battered and
wonderful.
bruised,
You
the
weren't
white stallion lay
troubled on the
quietly
trip?
as
Oh,
the
no,
Lone Ranger
not at all.
bathed his wounds.
It waited here
In
for me.
several
What?
days, the
Then you
last
mean to
Could
tell
you
me...
come over here
Indian
tonight?
cared for the injured
You mean
horse.
now?
Yes, if you could.
Then the wounds were
You see, I can prove it to you
The
now.
horse's strength had returned.
Very well.
There was once
I shall
more
come right
fire in
over.
his eye, a spring in his step, and his head was lifted
I stood there by
proudly.
the phone and shivered.
Otto, he's
The
himself
thing
again.
had become so real to him now that he felt he could go away and leave it,
I wonder
then
if he'll take
come
the
back
saddle.
and find it
Let's
waiting
try.
for him.
Steady there, steady boy.
Be careful. Him run away.
No, Tonto, wait.
That's why I
Let him
didn't
go.
call you when I first came back. I wanted to be
Have
sure.
that horse more than
I've
anything
waited
in the
3
world.
days, and every day has
He
been
deserves
worse
his
than the one
freedom.
before.
In what way? What do you mean?
I mean, the thing was waiting for me here. Glad I was
He's
back,
trying to look at
fawned all over me.
See how the sun
More
reflects from his white
insistently
coat.
obnoxious all the time.
Guildea, do you mean you've seen the thing? Heard
No,
it?
no, I haven't
would
seen
be a
it,
name
haven't
for
heard
him.
it, but I know it's here. I feel it, sense it.
Look at him.
Try to put it in words, and it becomes
Silver!
absurd.
Hey, Silver!
If you'd like some unsolicited advice,
Tonto,
call
he's
in a
coming
doctor.
back.
Have him look you over.
And what
He
doctor
knew
in
what I
London
said.
knows any more about the human mind than I do?
I know, but when it's your own...
No, you're thinking of hysteria,
Silver, you
hallucination. I
beauty.
know all the symptoms.
Hand me the halter,
It's not
Tonto.
that simple. Maybe I told you
As
to
the
prove
mighty
it to you.
stallion felt the halter,
You'll notice
he
I've thrown
trembled
a
as if
cover
from
over
a chill.
Napoleon's cage.
Every
Yes, I've
instinct
been
told
wondering
him
about
that he
it.
must
Part of
flee
my
at
proof.
once to preserve his
He's
freedom.
been here, you know, all the time I
Yet he
was
stood
gone
his
here in
ground.
this room.
Yes,
It
but
was
I
the
want you to
legend
get
that
behind
kept
those
him there.
curtains with me.
It was something
And
stronger.
I'll reach out and
some
pull the cloth off
mysterious
his
bond of
cage.
friendship and
Don't want to
understanding.
see us.
He heard
I
the
don't
man's
know what
voice,
you're hoping to
and
prove.
he liked it.
But
Silver.
All right, come on.
Silver. We're going to be partners.
Him
Ready?
You use halter.
I'll uncover
Tonto, the saddle.
Oh, no horse like that. Take saddle.
There never was a horse like this. Now, Silver, We're going to work together.
We
The horse
crouched
was
there
wild
behind
and
the curtains
unused to
watching
the
the
ways
parrot.
of men, and the weight of a
He
saddle and a
protested
rider.
while being so
The
rudely
masked man
disturbed
was a
by
kind
some
teacher.
unseen agency.
He was gentle yet firm,
Climbed about the
and
cage
Silver
with
was
claws
intelligent.
and beak,
The stallion
pecked at
seemed to
crumbs,
sense the desires of
appeared
the Lone
entirely
Ranger
normal.
and did his best to cooperate. He learned quickly, and after several days of training, he was ready.
Follow me, Tonto.
After time, he
I'm
began
going
to
after
fix his
Cavendish.
attention on a spot
Come on,
across the
Silver!
room. There was nothing there.
Watch him. Look at him now.
No hoofs
In
had
the
ever
parrot's
beat the
mind, at
plains
least,
like those
someone
thundering hoofs of
or
the great horse
something was
Silver.
approaching the
The
cage.
past few days,
And yet,
Cavendish had
the
gotten
room
far
was
away,
empty.
but the masked man and Tonto trailed him relentlessly, with only a minimum of rest.
Whatever it was, apparently had reached
Down
the
the
cage
outlaw's
now.
lead, but at long last,
Napoleon welcomed
Cavendish
it
came
friendly
into view.
talk.
There he is. Come
The
on,
hairs
Silver!
rose on the back of
The
my
mighty
neck.
stallion responded
The
with a new
bird was
burst of
cooing
speed.
and gurgling as he did when I or
Cavendish
Guildea
fired wild
scratched
shots
feathers
over
on
his
his head.
shoulder until his gun was empty.
I
His
could
horse,
almost
though powerful
fancy
and
that I
fast, was
saw
no match for the
long,
charging
white,
Silver.
ghostly fingers reaching
Here in
into the
panic filled the
bars of the
outlaw's
cage.
face. He heard the hoofbeats, ever
Listen to
nearer,
him.
and then the masked
Talking
man
to the
shouts.
thing,
I won't,
imitating
Cavendish.
it. See what you think.
The masked man's avowed mission was accomplished.
The bird
The
was
last of
moving
the
about in the
Cavendish
cage
gang
now,
was captured
nodding
to be
his head
tried
in a
by
very
law
peculiar
and
manner,
punished for his
uttering the
crimes.
most extraordinary sounds.
There were many others whose
Began
criminal
to
plans were to be
realize that he
challenged
was
by the Lone
imitating the
Ranger,
thing he
his
saw
faithful
standing by his
Indian
cage.
companion Tonto,
And then
and
the
his
full
great
horror
horse
of it came
Silver.
over me. I tried to hide the thought from Guildea, but he'd already seen it in my eyes.
So you see it too. That's all I wanted to know. That I wasn't imagining it. There's no point in hiding there any longer. That was my proof.
But perhaps someone was here while you were gone.
I've questioned Pitting and the cook. No one has been here.
It can't be. Such a thing just can't.
Father Murchison, it is.
Well, where? Where is it now? Can you tell me where it is?
Not exactly. Somewhere in the room, not too far away. I can feel that. Napoleon, of course, can see it.
There is some rational explanation, Guildea. There has to be.
You're whistling in the dark, Father. You recognize the same thing I did.
I know what you mean, of course.
I can't stand much more of it. If it were only something I could fight, strike out at. I'm not a coward, but I can't see it, hear it. I can only feel it trying to touch me somehow, trying to get close to me, drooling with desire and affection, fondness for me, and I can't keep it away. It gets closer all the time.
Guildea, you've got to get hold of yourself.
Get hold of myself! You saw the way that parrot imitated the thing, those mannerisms, that gibberish. You know what it means as well as I do.
I saw it, but it can't
Can't
possibly...
you feel how hideous it is for me? I can't stop it. The thing makes love to me, caresses me, and whatever it is, it has no mind. You saw that. That thing is a slobbering idiot.
I walked home at a late hour, trying desperately to think of some reasonable answer to the whole strange affair. I could not accept Guildea's explanation of the actions of the parrot, though the bird had produced an extraordinary illusion of an invisible presence in that room. In a day gone by, perhaps I might have been called in to deal with an evil spirit. I thought of retribution. Guildea had always borne an unnatural distaste for human love. Was he now being forced to endure the unnatural love of some monstrous being as punishment? I cast such thoughts away from me. Yet I could not quite accept the only other reasonable solution, that my friend was insane. It was very late when I fell asleep. The following evening I preached at Warwick Chapel and returned to my quarters about 9. I found that Pitting had called a short time before and left a rather puzzling message. Implore that you come to Hyde Park at once. Otherwise, I cannot answer for the consequences. But what is it you're trying to say, Pitting? He's not himself. In what way is he not himself?
I can only suggest, sir, that you talk to him yourself. Here we are.
Yes, come in, come in.
I'll leave you now, sir.
Oh, Murchison, come in.
Guildea, what in the name of heaven is wrong? Pitting said you'd been upset, but he didn't say
Pitting,
anything.
inhuman machine.
What happened? What did he do?
Nothing. That's just it. Nothing.
But I don't see then what you...
Oh, you warned me about it once. You said I'd meet a crisis, need him as a friend, and he wouldn't be there. Well, it happened.
Look here. I'm going to call a doctor. I've never seen you in a state like this before.
No. I don't need a doctor. I'm all right now. For a little while, anyway. At least I think I am.
Then what was it? What happened?
That thing touched me. Really touched me, I mean, for the first time. It's only been trying to before. The only way I can put it, it rubbed itself against my soul. It was horrible.
Now, Guildea, you
Don't
got
tell
to...
me I've got to get hold of myself. I know what I'm saying. I'm sorry. If you'd felt it yourself, you'd know what I mean. It was disgusting, filthy. If it had lasted one more minute, I know I should have gone screaming mad.
But you don't feel it now?
No, not now. I lost my head, I guess. I struck out with my fists. I tore at myself, screamed for help. Pitting came and thought I was drunk. But I could feel it touching me, sickening, soft, tender, inside of me.
But it left you then. You forced it away.
Yes, it's still here in the room somewhere, but it hasn't tried to touch me again.
Well, that settles it. Guildea, you're leaving here tonight. It didn't follow you when you took the trip before. It stayed here. That's one way you can be free of it.
Then you believe in the thing, too. Believe it's real.
It's real for you, and that's enough. Now, if I remember it, you're giving a lecture at Oxford the last of the week. You're going on up there now. I'll help you pack.
I could do that. I could stay at the Grosvenor tonight, take a train in the morning. It's right near the station.
Then it's all agreed. I'll get at it.
Wait. Look at Napoleon. Standing there by his cage. He's talking to it. Imitating it. Can you imagine what that thing must look like?
Never mind. Let me help you start packing.
But I didn't tell you what it really did this evening. What came closer to driving me insane.
It doesn't matter.
The thing kissed me, Murchison, but not from the outside. What? I could feel it, warm and wet, kissing my lips from the inside.
Guildea stayed at the hotel that night and caught the train out to Oxford the next morning. 4 days later, I received a wire from him. I'm still feeling a bit shaky, but everything else is all right. No sign of any visitor. Why don't you try to come up for the lecture Friday night? And please get rid of Napoleon for me. Signed, Guildea. On sudden impulse, I decided to accept his invitation. My train was late, and I arrived at Oxford with only time enough to go directly to the seminar. I slid into my seat just as Guildea was introduced and began his talk. He was pale and perhaps a bit drawn, but seemed otherwise composed and in control of himself. As I sat there, my mind wandered away from his talk, seeking some solution for the horrible problem which I regarded as being as much my own as Guildea's. I decided I would try to persuade him to sell the house in Hyde Park Place, since his strange fixation seemed to be bound up with it. Try to find lodgings elsewhere. Some 10 minutes passed when suddenly I noticed Guildea was becoming very nervous. He faltered in his talk, seemed to be confused. He stood there on the platform, deathly pale, his hands out as though pushing something away from him.
Please don't.
I knew what was wrong. Pardon me, please. Could I get through? Pardon me, let me to him, please. Pardon me, I'm his friend. Guildea, can you hear me?
Father Murchison.
Yes. Everything's all right.
It came here. Found me out. It rubbed up against me on the platform. It's no use. Take me back to London.
We arrived back in London late the next afternoon. Guildea was a broken old man. He shivered continually, trembled as though shaken by a chill. He claimed to sense the awful presence of that thing always nearby us, accompanying us, and he was constantly terror-stricken lest it might try to touch him again. I stayed with him in the house in Hyde Park, and as night drew on, we sat in the long, book-filled study on the second floor. Pitting brought coffee to us and then withdrew. We found little to talk about. and the silence of the room seemed doubly oppressive without the familiar chatter of the parrot in the background.
What did you do with him, Murchison? Napoleon, I mean.
I boarded him with a pet shop in Shaftesbury Avenue. I thought you might want him back again after you'd reconsidered.
No, I don't want him back. You still can't feel its presence, can you?
No, Guildea, I'm afraid I can't.
Wish to heaven I couldn't. It's in here with us now, you know.
Now, please.
It doesn't matter. That's no use. I can't fight it any longer. There's no way to fight it.
Perhaps that may be the answer, to stop fighting it. You said yourself that you felt it was fond of you, meant you no harm. Then why not stop fighting? Try to return its fondness, its love, if you will.
You don't know what you're asking. Even the thought of it sickens me. Fondness, love, for that thing?
Perhaps it may be the only way out.
Then there's no way out. I tell you, Murchison, I've only one feeling for that creature, and that's hatred. Hatred, disgust, and hatred.
Please, try to be calm.
Wait.
What is it?
Perhaps that's it. Listen. Whatever you are, beast or devil, I hate you, do you hear? I hate you. Murchison, that's doing it. It's recoiling, withdrawing, I can feel it.
Guildea, please.
I hate you. I hate you. Murchison, it wants to leave. It's beginning to hate me, too, but it wants to leave now. Open the door. Go downstairs and open the front door. Open the front door and let it out.
All right, Guildea, if you'll feel better about it.
It wants me to go along, but I know how to fight it now. Go, Murchison, hurry. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
I ran down the stairs and threw open the front door. I stood there, breathing in the night air. It was clear and cold, and the stars hung overhead. I looked across to the park, saw the glow from the street lamp falling on the empty bench directly opposite. And at that moment came a sound that froze my blood with horror. I stood there, paralyzed, unable to move. Seconds passed, perhaps minutes, I don't know. I don't know how long I stood there. I glanced across at the empty bench and for one moment thought I saw a shadow sitting on it. A vague shadow as Guildea saw it one night weeks before. And then the bench was empty, and I heard Pitting running down the stairs.
Father Murchison, come quickly. Professor Guildea, it was his heart, I think.
Yes, I believe it was his heart.
But Father Murchison, he's lying up there now, sir. He's dead.
Dead? Dead, Pitting? I hope so. I sincerely hope so.
Escape, produced by William N. Robeson and directed by Norman MacDonald, today brought you How Love Came to Professor Guildea by Robert Hitchens, adapted for radio by Les Crutchfield, with Louis Van Rooten as Professor Guildea, Parley Bear as Father Murchison, Harry Bartell as Pitting, and Paul Frees as the Parrot. Music was conceived by Cy Fewer with Richard Orant at the console. Next week...
When the coming weekend offers little to stir the imagination, when routine inactivity stares you in the face, when you're already tired of doing nothing, we offer you Escape.
Next week, we bring you another exciting story of high adventure. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.